In this video clip, we will talk about three things. The first thing is multiplications. The second thing is additive inverse. The third concept is absolute value. First, let's look at what's the meaning for additive inverse. If two numbers add together is 0, then those two numbers will be called additive inverse. See here, if we have a 3 add -3, then we got 0. Okay, so in this case, we say 3 is the additive inverse of -3. Or you may say -3 is the additive inverse of +3. That's the meaning for additive inverse. Some books says that -3 is the opposite number of 3, and 3 is the opposite number of -3. That's the same thing. Now, let's talk about why we need to introduce multiplication. Why? Right here. We know if 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 5 times, then we shall have the answer is 15. And then we introduce multiplication is 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 5 means you add 3 5 times. Since you can switch 3 and 5, you may also say 5 times 3 is you add 5 3 times. You also get 15. So they are exchangeable. The reason we want to introduce multiplication is because we want things to be easier. Math is not to make people's life harder. Is to make people's life easier. For example, right here, you have a 3 plus 3 plus 3 100 times. You don't want to write 100 threes. You want to write is 3 times 100, which is 300. That's why we need to introduce multiplication. Okay. Here there is one important concept is 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. And 3 times 3 is 9. Here is you have a 3 times 1 is 3 means you have a 3 appears twice. If you have a 3 plus 3 twice, right here, 3 plus 3, then it will be 3 times 2, which will give us 6. If we have a 3 plus 3 plus another 3 times, that will be 3 times 3 is 9. Okay. This is why we need to introduce multiplication. And then here is why positive times negative is negative. After we know, we get why we introduce multiplication, and we understand the additive inverse. This would be easier for us to understand. Easy for us to understand. Because, we have a 3 times 1, positive 1 is 3. And then here, 3 and a negative 3, they are opposite. So if you use 3 times -1 here, then it goes back to the left-hand side. So that will be -3. That's why we say we want positive times negative is negative. That's very important. Okay, so when you have two different signs, one times another, it all the time goes to the opposite side. So we have a positive times negative is negative. Negative means goes to the different side. Or negative times positive is going to be negative. On the other hand, if here is negative 3, when you multiply it by a negative 1, this negative 3 goes back to the positive side. So that's why we have a negative times negative. It's going to be positive. So negative, negative, positive. Positive, positive, positive. And then positive, negative, or negative, positive. When the signs are different, you will go to negative. That's the reason why positive, negative is negative. Why negative, negative is positive. Okay, so that's the second thing. The third thing is absolute value. What's the meaning for absolute value? Very easy. Absolute value of a number, let's say this number is letter A, is the distance between origin 0 and that number, which is denoted by A. Since here is the distance, we never say distance is negative. That's why absolute value is all the time positive. All the time positive. So absolute value of negative 3 is positive 3. Of course, the distance between negative 3 and origin, you can see 1, 2, 3 units. So is 3. The distance between positive 3 and 0 is 3 units. So that's why those two are equal. Absolute value of negative 3 is 3. Basically, this one will be equal to what? Absolute value of 3. They are equal. Okay? Absolute value of negative 3 equals absolute value of positive 3. They are equal. Equal to 3. Then you may wonder, how about absolute value of 0? That's 0. The distance between 0 and 0 is 0. There is no distance. Okay? Now, with those things in our mind, we can easily solve this question and this question. You see here is negative 12. You have a bar on both sides, vertical line on both sides. Then, in this case, is absolute value. In this case, is different, is parentheses. What's the difference between those two? This negative 12, you choose absolute value is positive 12. So it's like this one, negative 3, choose the absolute value is positive 3. But you have a negative sign in front of it. So in this case, answer is negative 12. Because you have an absolute value of negative 12, it's like here is positive 12. But there was a negative in front of absolute value, so you still get is negative. Okay? Here the answer is negative 12. This one is different. This one is like negative 11 is on the left-hand side of origin, and you give another negative, so it goes back to the positive side. So the answer for this one is positive 11. Now, here, for negative, choose the absolute value negative 0. Actually, we do not have a positive negative 0, but if you want to put negative sign in front of 0, it's fine. So absolute value of negative 0 is 0, but negative 0 is still 0. So we do not put negative sign in front of the 0. The answer for this one is just here is 1, is 0. Okay, all right. Now, here we have introduced again 1, 2, 3 concept. You may want to do more exercise to practice those 3 concepts. Okay, I'll see you next time.